Let's talk about handling objections, because this is something that everyone hates. I certainly hate it when I get objections on sales calls. Okay. There are 9 common objections that you should always be prepared for. Underneath this, I'm going to give you a solution to every single one of those objections. But here are the typical ones. So budget, and you've probably heard these if you've done any selling whatsoever, or frankly, if anyone's been selling something to you, you've probably used some of these yourself. And we're going to talk about how to get around each one. Okay, so budget. We don't have the budget for that right now. So you might have heard that one. Timing. Now isn't a good time. Or, when I redo my budget next year, or this quarter, we can't take on any new vendors. There's all kinds of timing issues. Authority. I need to check with my supervisor. I need to check with my boss. I need to check with my wife before making a decision. There is need. Well, we don't just really need this at this moment. It's just not, whatever. Urgency, which is something that I encounter all the time at my agency. It's like, we're doing fine. We can manage this now. It's just not a priority. Trust. I'm not familiar with you guys. Like, how do I know you're reliable? I'll leave aside that there's, again, I've got a bunch of trainings on this. And if you get the handouts that I've got here, I'll make sure that you can see a copy of those as well. I'm not familiar with your company. It means like your marketing sucks. So that's completely solvable, but let's go into sales right now. So I'm not familiar. How do I know that you're going to do what you're going to say? How do I know you're reliable? And of course, looping back to power dynamics, your active listening is showing that you are going to be more reliable than 99%. So that will help this one a little bit. Satisfaction with the current solution. We're already working with somebody else. We're happy with our current setup. It's good enough, right? That's related to urgency. Features. Your stuff, it doesn't have this feature. Let's say that you're selling software or something, it just doesn't have a feature that they need, or again, let's go back to the agency example because I used to run one. You guys don't do blank. Guys don't do podcast management. Okay, but it could be anything, right? I mean, it could be a physical product. It could be a service that you're running. It doesn't matter. It could be a store. You don't sell a thing that we need. Or it could be the distribution channel doesn't have, you don't have some feature that they need. Or competitor reference. I can get a cheaper deal down the road. Okay, so these are the 9 most common. There are many different flavors of these, but if you prepare for these 9, you are going to be well ahead of most people doing sales. So each one has a response that you can give, or better yet, prevent the objection from coming up. Okay, so that is the thing that I want to flag here. The best objection handling is to not have the objection come up on the sales call. It is to handle it before the sales call. And you do that with certain kinds of materials. So ideally, you will have had them go through a process, but whether it's you before a call, sending them a bunch of stuff saying, hey, please watch this video, please read this before the call so that we can all be prepared. Maybe your marketing process as they come into your world has answered some of these on a website, and there've been testimonials and things like that. So the best way to handle all of these objections is before, but sometimes they're gonna not have gone through that process. They will not remember they've gone through that process, and you're still gonna get the objection. So I've provided for you an objection handling worksheet right here. Again, a link below this video. And for each one of the objections, there is a recommendation of what you can do before the call, and then there is what you can do during the call. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the detail because that is going to be another 30 minutes of that. When you can just pull this worksheet, and there's a space where you can write it as particular to you. So I've given an example of how to think about it, and then in the next space over on this worksheet, let me go back to that again. Your strategy here on the side. You can fill in what your strategy is going to be based on the concepts in there of how will you, before the call, get rid of that objection, and if you get it during the call, how are you going to deal with that? So that's handling objections.